Part 24. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozheji. Chapter 232. When Lu Jianzhen treats the person she likes, she is really a lady who can't be more caring and gentle. She quickly reacted to Jin Li's hesitation and realized that she was abrupt. Sorry, Jin Li, I'm used to this way of greeting, and I'm really sorry to surprise you. Jin Li touched his face and reacted with a sweet smile. No, I just don't get used to it. After she finished speaking, she imitated Lu Jianzhen's movements and stepped forward and hugged her gently. Lu Jianzhen felt that his heart softened when those white and tender cheeks rubbed over. She couldn't help but reached out and stroked Jin Li's hair lightly, and for the 18th time she scolded that stinky boy Lu Qingyuan, "You don't like such a soft and sweet girl. What is the use of eyes?" Lu Jianzhen led Jin Li all the way to the house. Instead of taking her to the living room, she went directly to the studio on the second floor. As soon as he came in, Jin Li couldn't help but widen his eyes. It's more of a small gallery than a studio. Paintings of various sizes, large and small, are displayed here. Jin Li glanced over and stopped in one place. It was a 12-year-old boy. He was wearing a white bathrobe, sitting on the carpet with a book in his arms, looking down. The short black hair is softly attached to the forehead, the drooping eyelashes are long and thick, and the side face is incredibly delicate. It makes people eager to see the way he turns his head. Jin Li couldn't help but get closer. She raised her head, looked at the painting, and looked at it seriously for a long time. He is so beautiful. Lu Jianzhen couldn't help laughing. She nodded seriously, agreeing with Jin Li's words. Yes, he is the second most inspirational person I have met in my life. Jin Li subconsciously followed her words and asked, second? What about first? Lu Jianzhen did not answer. Jin Li looked up suspiciously and met the other's gaze. She understood at once. First, is it me? Mrs. Lu Jin Li pointed to herself with joy. Lu Jianzhen nodded. Yes, the first time I saw you, I thought you were a gift from the god of beauty to the world. Hearing Lu Jianzhen's affirmative answer, Jin Li was very happy, but she was a little tangled in her heart. Her beauty is not a gift from the god of beauty. Even if it is a gift from Tiandao Dad to this world. Artists' perceptions are all keen, and Lu Jianzhen felt Jin Li's entanglement and asked, what's wrong with Jin Li? Jin Li put aside the little entanglement and looked up at the painting. I'm curious, who is the person in this painting? I really want to meet him. Lu Jianzhen said amusingly, take a closer look. Jin Li glanced at her suspiciously, then look again? Is it someone you know? This time, she looked at the painting more carefully. These eyebrows actually feel a little familiar. But who is it? Jin Li circled all the people she knew in her mind, but there was no one who could match this person. If he saw such a handsome young man, Jin Li felt that he would never forget it. Knock knock knock. There was a knock on the studio door. Please come in, Lu Jianzhen said. A tall figure walked in. Jin Li looked over subconsciously, and just wanted to call someone, but her eyes stopped. She glanced between the eyebrows of the person who came and looked back at the painting. Confirmed back and forth 3 times. She finally understood where the familiarity came from. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozheji. Chapter 233. How similar is the boy in the painting to the man in front of him? It's just that the temperament of the boy on the screen is too gentle and clean, while the aura of Lu Jianzhen is fierce and indifferent, which makes it difficult for people to connect the two. Lu Jianzhen also followed Jin Li's gaze to see the oil painting on the wall. At a glance, his brows furrowed. He didn't like the picture. At that time, her sister, taking advantage of his young and ignorant deceit, fooled him into drawing such a picture. Lu Jianzhen never liked this kind of soft style of painting. If Lu Jianzhen hadn't stopped him, he would never have allowed this painting to exist in this world. But now this painting is not only preserved, but also seen by the woman he cared about most. Lucenja felt that his masculinity had been greatly damaged. His eyebrows moved, and he was about to speak. But Jinli's words were ahead of him. "Ah, Lucenja, is the person in this painting you?" Lucenja subconsciously wanted to deny it. But a second before he spoke, he looked up to see Jinli's eyes clearly. It was pure love and expectation. "She likes?" Lucenja looked up at the painting again, and sure enough, she still didn't like it, but it was inexplicably pleasing to the eye. And the words that came out naturally became, "Well, it's me." The tone was very calm and indifferent, but Yu Guan was secretly watching Jinli's reaction. He saw Jinli's eyes light up, and even his eyes softened a bit. "I didn't expect you to be so cute and soft when you were young." Cute. Soft. This kind of vocabulary, President Liu Bie has never allowed them to appear in his dictionary in the past. Lucenja subconsciously wanted to refute Jinli again. He wasn't really like that when he was a kid. Lucenja, the fourth young master of the Liu family, has been indifferent and surly since he was a child, and even the servants in the family dare not approach him too much. Lu Jianzhen took a lot of work to coax him to paint this painting with him. Lu Jianzhen originally wanted to draw the front, but he couldn't hide the gloom in the little boy's eyes. "No way," Lu Jianzhen chose to draw a profile face. "I'm not," Lucenja said in a low voice. Jinli just looked up at the painting again, didn't hear it clearly, and looked back at him. "What do you think you are? Ah, you were really cute and beautiful when you were young. I really want to hug." Lucenja. Before he could think about it, his mouth had already answered her words very honestly. "Well, I said this is indeed me." He stood aside because he was very close to Lucenja and listened to all Lu Jianzhen. Just about to blurt it out. "Don't think I didn't hear you trying to say not me. Who is it? Who is the person who hates this painting for life and death, if I don't protect it with all my life and must burn it down? Who is the person who refuses to admit that the person in the painting is himself and threatens me not to show it to anyone? Are you happy to admit it now? Oh man, your name is hypocrisy." However, the spit returns to spit. After all, the younger brother is his own, so why not forgive him at a glance like an old mother? Lu Jianzhen said with a smile, "Jinli, what you said, my little brother was delicate and cute when he was a child, doesn't he look good now?" Hearing this, Jinli finally pulled her eyes from the painting reluctantly, and took a serious look at Lucenja several times. "Lucenja is still very good looking, and he is the most beautiful person I have ever seen in this world," Jinli said. "Good night, babes." Whisper beep beep ticket. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 234. Both siblings thought Jinli's words were a bit strange, but they understood it as an exaggeration and didn't think deeply. Lu Jianzhen gave his younger brother a look. "Look, I'm right, this face has helped you a lot." When Jinli came over, she turned into the dignified, elegant, and charming lady again. "Jinli, I heard that you and my family Qingyuan are good friends, and you have a good relationship with Jinja." Jinli nodded. "Lu Shen is very good looking and very gentle." She thought about it for a while, and added, "The barbecue is also very delicious." When she said this, her eyes were shining, as if she had fallen into a star. The two people standing on the side couldn't help looking at her. Lu Jianzhen once again felt that his son was unlucky. Such a good girl, if her son likes it, she is a mother, and she has to help marry a little girl into the door. Lucenja felt very intuitive, sour. Shouldn't have spent money to send her to that variety show. Bad idea. Lu Jianzhen glanced at his younger brother's face. Although the other party's expression is the usual expressionless expression, there are many kinds of expressionless expression. For example, at this moment, it is expressionless expression in a very bad mood. Since the daughter-in-law can no longer be the daughter-in-law, the younger sister-in-law is not bad either. It's home anyway. Lu Jianzhen was very open, and asked with a smile, "What about Argenja?" Hearing this, Jin Li glanced at Lu Genja subconsciously, and said in a very admirable tone, "Lu Genja, she looks very good looking." The face of Lu Genja, not to mention in this world, even in the heaven, in countless gods, is not inferior at all. Lu Genja waited quietly for Jin Li's next sentence. However, Jin Li closed her mouth after speaking. "Lu Genja, do I have only one face to see in your eyes?" At this time, Lu Genja didn't know that in Jin Li's eyes, his face had already surpassed countless other reasons. Lu Jianzhen was obviously a little confused by Jin Li's directness. After taking a careful look at the little girl's eyes and making sure that the other party was telling the truth and not the slightest bit of joking, Lu Jianzhen both sighed and breathed a sigh of relief. The sigh was because the short encounter was enough for her to understand that this little girl not only had no thoughts about her son, but also had absolutely no extraneous feelings for Lu Genja. Or, to be more precise, she wasn't emotionally enlightened at all. The reason for the relief is even simpler. From Jin Li's answer, it can be seen that she is a face control. To master a face control, what is better than having a face that is at the level of trouble? She suddenly had a little bit of confidence in Lu Genja. As long as she pursues people earnestly in the future, she does not commit stupid acts. The opportunity is still great. Lu Jianzhen's eyes circled around Jin Li and Lu Genja, and suddenly a hint of inspiration came. "Jin Li, do you mind being my model and painting a few more works?" Jin Li thought about it, a little embarrassed. A painting is not so easy to complete. If you paint a few more works, you will have to spare a lot of time. She also has to discuss it with Sister Cheng. Seeing her appearance, Lu Jianzhen remembered what Lu Genja said to him, and his tone was soft. "Although I don't have Weibo, I have my own account on a very popular social platform abroad, with tens of millions of fans. And in the second half of the year, I will be on the Indus country will hold an international art exhibition, when the time comes. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess." Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 235. Jin Li's attention was completely attracted to her, and a pair of big peach blossom eyes fell on her body without blinking. Lu Jianzhen's heart froze, as if he had seen the little girl in front of him fall into his pocket. At that time, people all over the world will be able to see our beautiful little Jin Li. Jin Li blinked his eyes. She actually knew in her heart that Lu Qingyuan's mother said this to herself on purpose, in order to attract herself to agree to her. She didn't even hide her purpose, and she seduced herself so brightly. But even if Jin Li knew that the other party had dug a hole in front of her, she couldn't help it. This kind of thing that allows people all over the world to see their own beauty, it's wonderful. How could the fish have the heart to refuse? Lu Jianzhen looked at her with a smile. "Jin Li, what do you think?" Jin Li's eyes were sparkling, and her whole face glowed with joy and excitement. But she was still very reserved. "I have to discuss with my agent first to see if there is a schedule." Lu Jianzhen was so cute that his heart trembled, and he said softly to Jin Li, "Okay. No matter what, I will always have time to wait for you here." No matter what, Lu Jianzhen and Jin Li felt very happy to meet this time. Both parties felt that the other was better than they thought. Soon it was time for dinner. Jin Li proposed to go home, and Lu Jianzhen said with a smile, "It's better to have dinner before leaving. Today, I have a very special chef here, and I can't usually invite him." Jin Li felt that it was indeed getting late. Sister Ching also called. She should be more direct and say goodbye to Mrs. Lu and go home. However, a very special and difficult to hire chef, This feeling is really damn tempting. Even though her reason was urging her to leave, her body was already sitting on the chair very honestly, and she showed an expectant smile. Okay. Lu Jianzhen compared AV in his heart, the plan is successful. Brother, next, it's up to you. 20 minutes later. Jin Li's eyes widened, seeing Lu Zhenjia's shirt cuffs rolled up, revealing his forearms with smooth muscles and graceful lines, and came up with a dinner plate. Plates of excellent Chinese food were brought to the front. A tantalizing scent slid from the tip of her nose. Jin Li swallowed his saliva very obscurely. So fragrant. Want to eat? She thought she was hiding very well, but she didn't know that those beautiful peach blossom eyes stared straight at the dining table, and anyone could see her thoughts. A bitterness suddenly appeared in Lu Zhenjia's heart. From the first dish on the table, her attention was on the table, and she never looked at herself again. That is to say, he is the head of the dignified Lu family. Young talent. Extraordinarily handsome. In her eyes, it is not as good as a table of dishes. What a painful and real realization this is. After all the dishes were served, Lu Zhenjia washed his hands and sat down beside Jin Li. At this moment, Jin Li reacted after realizing it, and looked at Lu Zhenjia. Did you do all of this? Lu Zhenjia nodded reservedly. Jin Li suddenly realized, no wonder Lu Qingyuan's mother said she was a very special chef. Jin Li looked at Lu Zhenjia with admiration. You are amazing. I thought that a person like you wouldn't like drilling in the kitchen. Lu Zhenjia really doesn't like cooking. But Jin Li likes to eat it. He became fond of it. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 236. Facing Jin Li's searching gaze, Lu Zhenjia smiled lightly. He is accustomed to being cold-faced on weekdays, and was personally taught by his sister yesterday. The general content is summarized as follows. What kind of indifference and coldness, it's all for outsiders, outsiders. Do you understand? If you really want to chase people, you have to show your sincerity. The key is to show beauty. Beauty. Our father and mother gave you birth. In order to have such a good-looking face, you have to learn to use it, you know? Otherwise, no matter how good-looking you are, which girl would always like to chase a man with a cold face towards her? At this moment, Lu Zhenjia's smile was the result of his sister's practice of holding him in front of the mirror for half a night. According to Lu Jianzhen's words, that is, please make sure to bring out the greatest charm of your face. Lu Zhenjia wasn't quite sure whether the method taught by his sister was useful or not. But he felt that his sister could make several men fall in love with her so much that it was better than Bai Yan's single mother and child. So he decided to try. Jin Li was really stunned. It was the first time she saw Lu Zhenjia like this. She has always known that the other person is good looking. From the first glance, she thought that this human male was very good looking. But there was no moment when she felt the charm of this man so truly and intuitively. He was sitting beside him, and because of talking to himself, he turned slightly to his side. And because of his height, his body leaned down slightly. Such an angle was enough for Jin Li to see his entire face into his eyes at close range. He was laughing, and the corners of his lips were not raised very much, but it was enough to melt the frost and snow that lingered between his brows and eyes, and even those cold eyes had green shoots bursting out of the ice. Confided tenderness. Jin Li is not a shy girl, she admits that she is beautiful by Lu Zhenjia at this moment. She did not shy away from her love and appreciation for him. When Lu Zhenjia met Jin Li's eyes, she knew that this move was successful. Sure enough, your sister is still your sister. Sharp. When Mr. B.A. is not stupid, his learning ability and reaction ability are definitely not what ordinary people can achieve. He looked more gentle, and said softly, no, in my spare time, I like to cook some delicate dishes to treat myself. Lu Jianzhen, who was sitting opposite, rolled his eyes from an angle that the two of them couldn't see. Oh man. But soon she was happy again. My little brother looks like this, it's still very good. Jin Lee was really fooled by Lu Zhenjie. Really? This is really a good hobby. Lu Zhenjie smiled slightly. Try if it tastes good, it won't taste good when it's cold. He returned to his calm indifference. This is what Lu Jianzhen taught him: never deliberately disguise and suppress your own nature for the sake of a man/woman. You can occasionally act the way she likes to please the other person, but let her know who you really are. What is the difference between making the other party fall in love with an illusion by disguising the sincerity and stealing it? Jin Lee smiled at Lu Zhenjie and started to move his chopsticks. At the first bite, her eyes lit up. After taking the second bite, her eyes narrowed and a smile appeared on her face. Delicious, she looked at Lu Zhenjie. Your craftsmanship is so good. He is amazing. Lu Zhenjie's heart exploded, but her face remained calm. As long as you like it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 237. As a qualified boss. Learning ability is bound to hang mortals. Even if Lu Zhenjie doesn't like to cook, he has never approached the kitchen before. He will also be able to find 3 top chefs within a month, learn what they have learned all their lives, and learn from the blue. You say this is unscientific? No way, the author's setting is so-so. At this moment, Lu Zhenjie and Lu Jianzhen looked at each other with tacit glances. To grab a woman's heart, you have to grab her stomach first. Plan pass square root. By the time the meal was over, it was already dark. Of course Jin Lee is going home. At this time, of course, Lu Zhenjie just happened and dropped in to go home together. That's the benefit of being a neighbor. Lu Jianzhen personally took Jin Lee's hand to send her out, and his tone was rather reluctant. Thank you, Lu. Jin Lee suddenly got stuck. She looked a little tangled at the beautiful and gentle beautiful woman in front of her. If according to Lu Qingyuan's relationship with him, he would have to be called auntie. But when she looked so young and so good looking, she always thought it was a bit strange to be called auntie. Lu Jianzhen saw her hesitation and said with a smile, you and Qingyuan are good friends, just call me. Cough. Lu Zhenjie, who was standing on the side, coughed suddenly, gave his sister a look, and hinted wildly. You asked her to call her auntie, what should I do? Am I going to be her uncle? Lu Jianzhen. Jin Lee turned to look at him, a little concerned. What happened to you? Since seeing Lu Zhenjie's different beauty and superb cooking skills today, Jin Lee's label for Lu Zhenjie has been upgraded from good-looking mortal, rich, ordinary friend to a very good-looking human, cooking very delicious, good friend. It can be said that there has been a leap forward. Lu Zhenjie looked calm. My throat is a little uncomfortable. As a little fairy, Jin Lee has almost never experienced what it feels like to be unwell. She thought about the usual human answer and said, then you drink more water. I heard that drinking plain water can cure anything. Especially good. Lu Zhenjie lowered her head and seemed to smile. Okay. Lu Jianzhen also reacted and smiled and took Jin Lee's hand. I see that you like it, how about you call me sister? Jin Lee, huh? You didn't seem to say that just now? Looking at Jin Lee's clear and doubtful eyes, Lu Jianzhen's smile did not change. He stepped forward and gave Jin Lee a sweet hug. Jin Lee was hugged by the woman's soft body, rubbed comfortably, and instantly forgot the doubts just now. Good sister. Lu Zhenjie. He watched helplessly as his sister hugged his sweetheart, blatantly taking advantage, and the Jin Lee was still very happy. Lu Jianzhen lost a look at his younger brother. Did you see it? If it wasn't for your sister, I wasn't interested in women. Would it be your turn? Lu Zhenjie. He looked up at the sky. A full moon is rising in the sky. Silence is the moonlight tonight. Silence is Lu Zhenjie tonight. Okay, Lu Jianzhen let go of Jin Li and raised his hand to straighten her messy long hair. I heard that you and Zhenjie are neighbors, so let him take you back. Before Jin Li was about to say, I have a driver to pick you up, she said softly, this way, I can rest assured. Remember to send a message to my sister when you get home. Jin Li followed her words and said, okay. Lu Jianzhen, SIER, have you learned? Lu Zhenjie, let go of your hand, you devil. Good night. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 238. Lu Zhenjie drove Jin Li home. There was some silence on his way. He was thinking about the gap between himself and Lu Jianzhen. After thinking about it, he had to admit, in terms of the ability to make money, he is too much stronger than the other party. But in terms of feelings, he is really far behind. Jin Li sat in the co-pilot, blinking, looking at him with some puzzlement. She could feel that Lu Zhenjie's mood was a bit wrong at the moment. But today I was obviously very happy all day. For the sake of that particularly delicious dinner at night, Jin Li decided to take care of each other. Lu Zhenjie, she called him. What's wrong? Lu Zhenjie came back to her senses and glanced sideways at her. There was a faint warm yellow light in the car. Seeing beauty under the lamp has always been more charming. Whether it is Jin Li or Lu Zhenjie, they are all beautiful. The brief look at each other made both of them suffocate slightly. Lu Zhenjie almost forgot his sister in an instant, and his eyes were full of only the girl sitting beside him. Jin Li was more direct. She looked at Lu Zhenjie up and down as if she was looking at something strange, and then sighed, why do I think you are much more handsome now than when you met before? She used to think that Lu Zhenjie was good looking, but didn't she think that the other party was so good at seeing it? Lu Zhenjie tried her best to restrain herself, but the corners of her lips were still slightly raised. He didn't answer Jin Li's question, but said softly, just like every time I see you, Jin Li, I think you are more beautiful than the last time. This little fairy loves to hear it. Jin Li instantly looked at Lu Zhenjie, even more pleasing to the eye. She said happily, I found out that you not only look better than before, but also speak better than before. Lu Zhenjie smiled slightly, thinking that Lu Jianzhen would not deceive me. Do what you want, you're right. This half-hour drive seems to have opened the door to a new world for Lu Zhenjie. When getting out of the car, just as Jin Li was about to stretch out his hand to unfasten his seat belt, Lu Zhenjie suddenly said, don't move. Jin Li? Before she could react, the man beside her had already leaned over. He didn't seem to be using perfume, but he had a cold breath on his body, like the March wind passing through the snow-capped mountains, cool and quiet. Jin Li blinked and looked at the man who was close at hand. He was so close to her now that she could count his distinct eyelashes. It turns out that Lu Zhenjie's eyelashes are still so long and curled, and the eyelashes on the oil painting are actually real. Jin Li's hand on her lap was about to move. She wanted to touch Lu Zhenjie's eyelashes, but she felt that this kind of behavior was a bit unfair. She was still hesitating, but the man who had just approached him backed away. Jin Li realized only after realizing it, oh, he was just unbuckling his seat belt just now. Jin Li stared at Lu Zhenjie in a daze, and said in a low voice, I can do things like unbuckling seat belts by myself. Lu Zhenjie wanted to laugh again. But he held back, and moved Lu Jianzhen out. By the way, sister told me that a qualified gentleman is always willing to serve a lovely lady. Would a gentleman still do this? Jin Li blinked a little blankly. Lu Zhenjie had already opened the door to get out of the car, and opened the door for her. Beautiful lady, please. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 239. Jin Li got out of the car. Lan Ting had heard the movement and came out. Seeing the two people standing together, she used to get excited in her heart. Then he walked over to Jin Li. Lu Zhenjie was also acting very gentlemanly at the moment. He nodded to Lan Ting as a greeting, "I'll take Jin Li home. It's getting late, you should go back and rest early." Jin Li felt that something was wrong with Lu Zhenjie today. But she couldn't tell what was wrong. Never mind. This kind of question is not something fish should consider. Goodbye. Then she rushed to Lu Zhenjie to say goodbye, and walked into the gate of the villa with Lan Ting. Lu Zhenjie stood there, watching the two figures disappear into the moonlight. It wasn't until he could no longer see Jin Li's figure that he lowered his head and breathed a sigh of relief. The hands on his side were slightly sore because of the restraint. God knows how much self-control he had to exert when approaching Jin Li to make his eyes appear calm and indifferent, to hold the beast in his heart, to hug her without any force, and kiss her hard. He glanced at the brightly lit house again, turned back, and left. The next day, when Jin Li and Sister Qing talked about Lu Jianzhen's proposal, they were unsurprisingly supported. According to Sister Qing, "You used to have a bad reputation, and you had too few works. Now that you are starting to improve, it's an important time." With the current popularity of Jin Li, during this period of time, many brand manufacturers have contacted Qingja, wanting to ask Jin Li to endorse their products. There are also many endorsement fees raised very high. But Sister Qing did not answer a single one. Because Sister Qing is not sure how high Jin Li's future will be in the future, and now, among these endorsements, there are really few who have made it to the top. She didn't want Jin Li to be at the peak in the future, to be held and ridiculed by her inexperienced endorsements. But Lu Jianzhen had no such troubles at all. Not to mention that in ordinary people's cognition, the art circle itself is a higher level than the entertainment circle. The name Lu Jianzhen alone is worthy of countless artists rushing to beg her favor. Who is Lu Jianzhen? A well-known figure in the art circle, she is a painter, but not just a painter. In fact, she has a lot of achievements in vocal music, in dance, and in many fields. Just because her favorite and highest achievement is painting, so she usually considers herself a painter. In the Western art circle, the name Lu Jianzhen represents honor and fame. But just as famous as her reputation was the lady's finicky demands on models. No one knows what her aesthetic standards are. She has painted international supermodels with perfect physiques, and she has also painted street children performing arts. But her figure paintings are pitifully small compared to the total number of her works. This is not because she is not good at figure painting, on the contrary, people who have seen her paintings say that Ms. Lu's figure painting is her most aura and the most charming work. She draws less, just because she rarely meets satisfactory models. When Sister Qing heard what Jin Li said about the painting, she almost fainted. Ms. Lu actually mainly asked to paint Jin Li, and more than one. And this stupid child of his own still has to think about it? What to consider? Others are holding tens of millions of remuneration and asking Ms. Lu to paint a picture for themselves. Are they still not happy? You should promise me right away, right away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 240. Jin Li was urged by Sister Qing and hurriedly called Lu Jianzhen. Lu Jianzhen was on the phone, and his voice was the same. "Little Jin Li, have you thought about it?" Jin Li nodded subconsciously, and realized that it was a phone call. The other party couldn't see it, so she quickly said, "Yes, sister, I agreed." Lu Jianzhen was not very surprised. Even if her baby Jin Li didn't realize what she said, her manager always knew. But even so, she also raised her eyebrows and eyes with joy. "Okay, My sister is very happy. Contact me when you come. Jin Li hung up the phone and looked at Sister Ching, who was staring at her. Sister Ching didn't seem to have thought that the solemn conversation in her imagination would end like this at will. She asked a little confusedly, "Did you just chat with Mrs. Lu? Are you ready to talk now? Shouldn't it be necessary to confirm various precautions, make an appointment, negotiate the remuneration and a series of restrictions on publicity and promotion, and so on?" Jin Li was puzzled. "It's just a painting, what else do I need to say? My sister said that she always has time. I'll just tell her when I think about it." Sister Cheng. So it is widely rumored in the circle that Mrs. Lu is hard to find a painting, and the rumors that the appointment is scheduled for next year are all fake? Of course not, Jin Li said. Only then did Sister Ching realize that she actually said what she was thinking. She looked at Jin Li. "What's not?" Jin Li said calmly, "It's because my sister likes me so much that she treats me so special." She pointed to herself proudly. "After all, there is no other cute and lovable little fairy like me in this world." Sister Cheng. Why have I taught you so many times, but instead of restraining you, you are more floating than before? The filming of Mrs. Jinguo has come to an end now. Qing Ji originally planned to take advantage of the heat to give Jin Li another drama or a variety show. But when Lu Jianzhen came out halfway, the plan she had thought about was shelved. But even if the plan was shelved, Sister Qing was overjoyed. After all, one of Lu Jianzhen's paintings can bring benefits to Jin Li. In terms of enhancing Jin Li's worth and style, it is as powerful as taking 10 dramas. Jin Li and Lu Jianzhen also made an appointment, early next month. It just so happened that after the script was filmed, and after attending Su Hexiang's birthday party, there was nothing else to disturb Mrs. Jin crew. Today is Jin Li's last scene. At this time, the rise of the Zhang family has already taken shape, and everyone knows that in this world, the surname will be Zhang in the future. As a neighbor, the Northern Wei dynasty saw that the Zhang family was powerful, and knew in his heart that when the Zhang family became king, the Northern Wei dynasty, who was on the side of the couch, would either surrender or be eradicated. No matter what kind it is definitely not what the Northern Wei royal family wants to see. Helen Mingji offered a plan. In the name of a minister, it is the reality of assassination. If it is successful, the Zhang clan will have no leader, and the army will be in chaos. If it fails, the worst situation is what it is now. But regardless of success or failure, the person who assassinated the Zhang family's head will definitely have no way to survive. Helen Mingji offered this strategy. Of course, he also became the person who carried out this plan. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 241. The Northern Wei dynasty is willing to present the most splendid pearl of the royal family and express his surrender to the Zhang family. King Zhang was overjoyed and held a banquet in the palace to welcome the arrival of the eldest princess Helen. At this time, it happened to be winter, and it was snowing white outside the palace. The sky and the earth are white, and there is no other color. The arrival of Helen Mingji was like a raging fire, illuminating the sky and illuminating everyone's eyes. The pearl of the Northern Wei dynasty really lives up to its reputation. Tang Qinfen, who was sitting at the head of King Zhang because of his outstanding military exploits, frowned. She felt there was a fraud. Helen Mingji presented the national letter of the king of the Northern Wei dynasty. Under the national letter, in the wide sleeves, was a sharp dagger. No one thought of this. Just as no one thought that the dignified eldest princess of a country would personally take the risk to assassinate King Zhang. Helen Mingji is a woman who has been on the battlefield. Her dagger is very fast, and it is approaching the generals below, and no one has time to react. Her dagger was about to touch King Jiang's chest. There was a smile in her eyes. It was done. As long as King Zhang dies, the Northern Wei dynasty will have enough time to repair it, and we have to see what the final result will be. But the next moment, a body stood in front of King Zhang. Helen Mingji's eyes widened. She was stunned for a moment, and the dagger in her hand slanted an inch to the side subconsciously. The dagger into the flesh, Helen Mingji's face was ashes. At this moment, it was enough for the rest of the people to react. Her only chance is gone. She looked at Tang Qinfen, and Tang Qinfen also covered her wound and looked at her. I still lost to you, she looked at Tang Qinfen and said softly. Tang Qinfen's eyes flashed a trace of sadness. Princess. The recovered King Zhang looked at Helen Mingji, who was surrounded by guards, and shouted angrily, someone! Give me this daring assassin! Tang Qinfen subconsciously wanted to ask for mercy, Your Majesty, please. She stopped talking here. Please what? Does she want to intercede for the assassin of this enemy country? What will Zhang Wang think? But Helen Mingji's dagger could have killed her, but in the end, her blade deviates an inch to the right of her chest. It is impossible for those who have been on the battlefield to make such mistakes. Tang Qinfen's eyes became firm. Your Majesty, please also ask your subordinates. Helen Mingji chuckled softly. Since I appeared here, I never thought of going back alive. She looked at Tang Qinfen, and her tone was still teasing. Tang Xiaolang Jun, for the sake of you and me getting to know each other, please burn my body, sprinkle it in the water, and let me go back to my homeland. There was bright red blood overflowing from her lips and teeth. This alluring beauty glanced at Tang Qinfen calmly, and fell down safely. The set was quiet. The original director paused for a few seconds before calling out a card. Su Hexiang stepped forward and called out Jin Li softly. Jin Li opened her eyes and looked at her with a smile. Her tone was always arrogant. How is it? Did I act well in that scene just now? Su Hexiang breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. She would never say that. Just watching Jin Li fall, she knew clearly that what she was biting was a blood bag, and she knew that the filming was fake, but she still panicked for a moment, almost rushed over to probe the tip of her nose breathing. She said lightly, not bad. At the end, he threw her a bottle of water. Is it very comfortable to lie on the ground? Why don't you get up and rinse your mouth, biting the blood bag to death? For after the update, I checked my eyes, and I am also a person who wants to recommend a ticket today.